Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. And today we're taking a look at a product from a company called Airversa. This is their Purelle Smart Air Purifier. So this is a thread enabled Homekit compatible air purifier, and what we're going to do in today's video is just take a look at everything that you get with it, how you set it up in both its original app, so the Sleep Point app that actually comes with the device, as well as how to actually add it to Homekit. Now, when I've actually added this, what I've done is I've added it through HomeKit initially, and then I've used the Sleep Point app to basically add it in afterwards, which is probably a better way of actually doing it, because once you've added it to HomeKit, which is very, very straightforward, you're basically left with it automatically registering for the Sleep Point app. Now, opening up the lid, you have the instruction manual or the user manual right on the top. Once you've taken the unit out, it does have a little bit of plastic wrap all over it, so do remember to take that off. You do have the HomeKit label on the back, as well as on the user manual a second copy as well, but I'd suggest just leaving the copy on the actual unit itself. That way you can easily add it. On the bottom, you do have the locking system for the base of the actual unit, and this is where the filters are actually stored. So once the unit is actually sent to you, it does come with the filters already in place, but as you'll see from the next sort of shots, they are basically plastic wrapped. So when you first get this, what you will need to do is take them out, unwrap them, and then reinsert them in the same orientation you took them out in, and then you just put the bottom lid back on and lock it back into place. The filters do have a little sort of ribbon pull tab, so once they are used up, you can use that to actually extract them out. And these are HEPA filters, and they are available via Amazon. I will have a link in the description below for both the product as well as the filters. Here it is fully set up, and what we'll do now is we'll get it installed in the HomeKit app. Okay, so coming into HomeKit, as always, you hit the plus icon and then you go to add accessory. Next, all you need to do is scan the code on the back of the actual air purifier itself. Instantly, it recognizes it as an air purifier and it will go to add it to your Wi-Fi network. Now, this particular step, it took a bit longer than it has done with some other accessories, but this is a thread enabled accessory, and that means that it's actually compatible with quite a few different smart platforms. It does work without you having to basically do anything. So all you do is you just scan the code. Once it's finished doing its sort of, I'm guessing this is your Wi-Fi connection and all the rest of it. It then gives you the option to actually select the room. So in this case, the front room or the home theater. And then if you wanted to, you could rename it. I just left it as what it was. Here, it gives you the option of what you want to actually make available to HomeKit. So I just left it as both, and then I hit done. Next, if I scroll down to the room, and you can see the icon right there. And this is where you have the option for your fan control, and you have your power button to turn it on and off. Unfortunately, it doesn't give you any sort of other options, or it doesn't really present any information either in terms of what the air quality is like. What you can do is invoke Siri and ask Siri what the quality is like in that particular room, and it will tell you what the air quality is like. However, it doesn't unfortunately present the actual numbers to HomeKit itself. Okay, so here we are in the Sleep Point app, which is the app for the actual Airversa itself. And when you first log in, it'll ask you to register. Once you've registered, what will actually happen is it'll ask you if you want to use your home data. Now, because I've already added this through HomeKit itself, it's basically gone and automatically added the Airversa into the app for me. So let's go into the app, and we can see a lot more data compared to obviously what HomeKit's going to give you. So if you did want to use this just primarily as an air purifier, nothing else, then obviously you can do that. But if you do want more data, then this is where you would come in and you'd be able to see a lot more data in terms of exactly what's going on, when it's run, those kind of things. So as you can see, it's got quite a lot of information in it. It's got your filter life just there, as well as the option to actually buy more filters. It shows you what type of connectivity. So obviously we're using Thread, which is for HomeKit, and that is obviously one of the major things. Coming into it, we can also see here, there's a firmware update available. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so that is the firmware done. So if we just come back in, on the main screen we have a toggle to actually turn it on and off quickly. Inside we have all pretty much the same settings, so we can quickly enable the child lock and disable it. We can enable disable the screen, sorry, using this star, well, the moon and sort of stars icon. You can switch it back to auto mode, and you can also, I'm presuming, switch it onto manual and have the unit crank all the way up. I'll switch that back onto auto. In the settings, you do have the option for auto fan speed, adaptive brightness for the actual screen itself, which I have noticed, so the ring around the actual main screen does dim down once after a little while. The info display, once again, you have adaptive brightness, which I suggest most people actually leave enabled. Your timer, you have enabled, and then you can obviously come in and set this to whatever you want and disable that. So you can have a default timer essentially using this. Your schedule, if you did want to set a schedule, you can use it there. On your feedback sound, so on the unit itself you are getting some feedback sound, so it's just a little chime that's playing. And once again, we've had a quick look at this before, filter life, as well as the option to buy the filter. And then once again, down at the bottom you have your latest firmware. If you did have any issues, you can send an email directly to the team using the report issues option. And you also have option to go straight into the manual itself from here as well. So yeah, that is the settings in the actual app itself. A lot more useful than obviously just the information that you're going to get in Homekit alone. However, obviously this is, for most people, for like myself, it's one of those things where you can just enable it and probably just use it through Homekit. Looking at the app, just taking a look at what other options you actually have. So these are sort of generic kind of things. And then you have the option to actually add additional devices. If you did want to actually add this directly to the app itself, then what you would do in order to get it into pairing mode, when you switch it on, you just hold the actual sort of network connection icon, and that will put it into pairing mode. And then you can actually go ahead and add it via this section here. Finally, in the top left, you do have the option for invite people or refresh your devices. You have your messages for any obviously things that you've reported or anything like that. You have the option to send a direct message to Sleek app, and then finally you have the option to actually reorder your devices if you have more than one. If you say, for example, if you have these in multiple rooms, then you can actually click the very right icon with your arrows up and down, and that'll give you the option to actually change the order as they're displayed. Okay, so let's take a look at all the controls on the actual unit itself. So here you have the power button. Next to that, you have a gauge. This is the gauge of the actual filters themselves. So that tells you how they're doing, if they're clogged up, if they need replacing, basically. Next to that is your filter button. So this is what you would press and hold in order to reset the filter gauge if you have changed the filters. Next to that is the child lock. So if you press and hold for 5 seconds, that is now engaged, and if you press and hold for 5 seconds again, it will disengage. Next to that, you have your fan control if you want to put it into manual mode, and next to that you have your automatic, which is generally what I tend to leave it on, and it will just manage it automatically. Your gauge itself is your air quality, so it was on 28 when I first turned this on. It's now coming down to 19. Next to that, you have a timer if you have this in a bedroom or something and you want it to switch off after a certain amount of time. And next to that, you have your night mode to disable the top screen. The final thing down at the bottom is your network connection, which if you've connected it via HomeKit will all be connected up automatically. And once again, we come around back to the actual power button itself. As I say, inside there is the actual reading for the air quality. And as you can see, it's going down as it's working. Okay, so let's take a look at the Airversa once it's in HomeKit. So we had a brief look at it during the installation setup, but what we'll do now is we'll go into it. So on this main page, if you were to click on the icon towards the left-hand side of the actual button, that simply turns it on and off. You should be able to hear this in the background. So it's quite responsive. From the point you press it, it will react quite quickly. If you press anywhere on the actual text, sorry, I've just toggled it so it's come on in the background. So what I tend to find is if you turn it on initially, it will go into automatic mode on the actual air purifier. If you adjust it, it obviously goes into manual mode, and if you then switch it off again and turn it back on again, that then kind of puts it back into automatic mode, which is generally what I tend to keep it on because it's whisper quiet, so you won't actually hear it. If we go down further, this is all of your settings, so this is basically what you can see. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that it's so limited in terms of what functionality it's actually presenting, but as I say, you figure it out quite quickly in terms of when you manually adjust it, you then have to turn it off and back on in order for it to switch back to automatic mode. It would have obviously been better had there been a toggle in order to change from automatic to manual, and then obviously you set your levels. This bar of as well, it doesn't really relate to the settings on the actual purifier itself, which I think it has five different settings for the intensity. There is one automation that I actually created. So once the air quality gets above a certain level, so on this, obviously it's the higher the number, the worse the air quality is. So on this, I've set it so then if it goes above 20%, then it will basically kick in and it will automatically purify the air. As I've actually found is I've just left this on. I just leave it on all the time, and generally the figure on there will range from between, say, 1 or 2 up to maybe about 8 or 9 at most, depending on what's going on in the house and whether this room has been kept open or closed. So yeah, that's the options that you have available to you in HomeKit itself. Okay, and one final thing, so I did find the filters on Amazon, and as it's pretty much the same price as it is in America. So I believe in America they sell for around $30. Here in the UK it's £30. Conversion rate at the moment isn't great for the pound, but I think that's just a set price that they actually have. And so far I've had this installed for a fair few days now, probably a couple of weeks since I actually got it, and the filters are still all, it's still showing, what is it, 5 bars. So it's not even started to wear down the filters yet. So depending on what the estimate is for the actual time, and obviously depending on your usage, this isn't a bad price, I think, for the actual filters, because they do a very good job in terms of purifying the room and just improving the air quality, especially for rooms like I've got set up for the home theatre where it's kind of closed off and not used as much. So overall, I'm really impressed by the actual product itself. Even without the HomeKit support, this product just works really, really well. My only sort of complaint would be the fact that it's white and the cable is white, and obviously for my home theatre I would prefer something black, but I do like this product so much so that I'll probably end up buying a second one for having it spread out throughout my house, and this way I can have one in the home theatre and one in the other room, and that should cover the whole of the ground floor. I will have some more Airversa products coming in the coming months, so if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on those. And I'd really appreciate if you also give this video a thumbs up. And until the next one, thanks very much for watching.